seen anything like that. I mean, I've seen jiu-jitsu, but those guys are amazing.
A great honor to have the Machado brothers.
Machado.
It's Carlos Machado.
This episode is brought to you by Machado Method Nutrition, premium fuel for disciplined athletes who train with intent and recover with purpose. Live the method, fuel the life. Start now at machadomethodnutrition.com. All right, everybody, coffee time with Carlos Machado. Let's cheer here with a good old friend, Major Lee Stuckey. Cheers, Major.
Cheers.
All
Thank you for
right.
having us.
Oh, man, this coffee's keeping us going, all right? So I'm here with somebody who I met through the martial arts. So that's one thing I was talking to Mr. Stuckey is the value of the network that a lot of times we take for granted when we do martial arts. And one of the things that I noticed with martial arts is the friends you make or the relationships you build throughout your journey, they stick. They stay. It's not something, even if you meet somebody for a brief period of time, you know, they will not forget. And we had some very treasured memories. Lee Stuckey met my in-laws, Mr. Ray Thompson, the great Stephen Wonder Boy Thompson, the whole family. He was doing martial arts, training jiu-jitsu, doing MMA, amongst everything else, you know, served our country for several years. And he's part of and helps run incredible organizations that we're going to dig a little bit further and deeper, which are very relevant to the health and wellness of our dear veterans. That's right. Our veterans deserve our utmost respect and support. And everything that Lee Stuckey has done since he became retired and even before then has always been aimed towards helping out his comrades for any of the branches of the military. So we're going to get the ball going with that. Mr. Lee, why don't we share some good old memories? Talk a bit about yourself before I met you briefly, what stage you were in your life, how we came about to meet, and then what happened ever since. And then now here we are again. So give me a bit of a tunnel vision or back to the past tunnel.
Yeah, so grew up as a country boy in Alabama, grew up on a horse farm, not malicious, but mischievous, and I got in a lot of trouble. And so I had the opportunity to go to military school at Marion Military Institute. And so me and my brother both got sent away. Mm-hmm. And really through that, you know, my dad taught us work ethic as a kid. I will go back to one story. I asked my dad for an Atari when it came out. And my dad goes, what's an Atari? I said, it's a game. He goes, I got a game. Go cut the grass. So we didn't have gaming systems. My dad worked us, and I'm so appreciative of that now. And that's where I definitely got my work ethic. But got sent off to military school, and I met a guy named Staff Sergeant Sutton who was in Marine Reconnaissance. And I just remember that just how he carried himself. I would think if I can live 10% like that guy, he is just so disciplined and professional. And I was there with him for about 2 years. Fast forward to Auburn, and I go my freshman year of college, and I have a negative GPA because I wasn't doing good. I was good at partying, but I wasn't good at school. I remembered Staff Sergeant Sutton. I remember that Marine. I said, man, if I can just live 10% like Staff Sergeant Sutton, I'm going to be okay. And it'll pull me out of this rut I'm in. And so went off to Parris Island, went to boot camp, and really loved it. Just fell in love with it, went to machine gunner school, and I came back and did the reserve so I could finish college. Ultimately, I did want to finish school. And miraculously enough, if you go to Parris Island, and then if you come back to college, you make better grades. I promise you, you make much better grades.
Something happened at the island that
Something
doesn't
happened.
stay on the island. He goes along with you, right?
I had Justin Bieber hair. I was pudgy. I couldn't run 1.5 miles in probably 50 minutes. And when I left there, I was running 3 miles in 17 minutes. And I was in great shape. My mom actually walked past me. She didn't recognize me. My mom and dad both walked past me when I graduated. And it definitely transforms you. That's an understatement. And that was the catapult for the next steps of my life. And going to college and doing better and staying in physical fitness. And really, that's how I got into jiu-jitsu right after that. Because
how old were you then?
19, 20. So I was 19 when I went in the Marine Corps.
What'd you go to college for?
Business logistics.
Okay.
So business logistics, and then I have a master's degree, and I have 2 of those. But so at Auburn, I met a guy named Mike Nelson, and he took me to jiu-jitsu one day. So we go to jiu-jitsu and we're training, and he did moves to me that I was like, I don't know if this is even jiu-jitsu. And I found out he was an MMA fighter. And so I started training with Mike Nelson, and I'll never forget the first day we did Muay Thai, my legs were bruised up and down from one side to the next. And that night I said, please don't let this guy ever call me again, God, please. And then I was like, the next day I could barely walk and I was hobbling, and he called me and said, hey man, you ready to train? I was like, yep, I'll meet you over there. And just once I started training and sticking with it and sticking with jiu-jitsu, I just fell in love with it. And the difference between going to college and going to train jiu-jitsu, or going to train Muay Thai, or going to the bar, they end in different paths.
Mm-hmm.
Those are completely different directions. And when you're talking about the discipline, how many people are still friends with people they met in bars 20 years ago, or are still healthy? But when you meet people in martial arts and in doing something of discipline,
Mm-hmm.
you'll have that tribe that's healthy and making healthy choices,
Mm-hmm.
and not going to a bar all night. You don't even remember hanging out with them. So I'm so blessed to be able to meet you. And I was thinking about it the other day. It's going to sound weird, but do you remember what I was wearing when I met you?
I'm trying to remember the exact
So
thing.
I'll get to it. So I probably weighed around 205, and I had a fight at 146. So I had to cut to 146, and I cut all the way down. And one of your black belts, Bill Bout, was with me. I cut all the way down to 146 pounds, which is a lot. And my fighter no-showed me. And I called him on his cell phone and said, hey man, where are you? He goes, I'm not cutting. I'm not dropping. I'm not coming to fight you. I said, man, I don't care how much you weigh. I don't care if you weigh 190 or 200. I want to fight you. And he no-showed me. He said, I'm not fighting. I'm not coming in there. And so I was standing there, and Mr. T saw me with moping and my head down, and came over there and said, son, you okay? I was like, no, my fighter didn't show up, and I just cut 50 something pounds. He goes, well, come back to Pitch Black. Come back to our gym. We'll get you hydrated up and take care of you. You'll spend time with me and Wonder Boy. We'll get you right. So I go back to the gym. Bill drove me back there. I'm emaciated at 146, which is when you want to take your beach pictures. But got over to the gym, and when I got in there, I was sitting down, and you were looking at me. He said, you want to grapple? And I was like, yeah, I want to grapple. I couldn't even believe you were talking to me, because I know who you were. You didn't know who I was. And I knew you were Carlos Machado, and I was like, man, I love jiu-jitsu, and this guy wants to grapple with me. And I had this shirt on, and I grappled you in this shirt with khaki pants, a Lionel Richie fan club t-shirt. So I brought you one.
Wow. Hey, hold on, guys. Look at this guy, man. He remembers.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
So I found it, and I got you one too, Roger.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, man.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
That is awesome.
But I remembered it was like 3 hours. And I
Roger,
thought
put over there for me.
I thought I was pretty decent. I think I was about to pick up brown belt. I was a purple belt. But I remembered grappling with you, and I felt like a newborn baby, just trying to figure out how to walk. And it was just so awesome to see somebody so graceful, but also so nice and compassionate, and wanting to teach you and wanting to train you. And you spent 3 hours on that mat with me. I mean, it impacted me for the rest of my life. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. That's what I think the mats and martial arts in particular, jiu-jitsu is such a vehicle that when I was interacting with you, I always look at my training partner as a growth opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you teach me something or in sharing with you, I relearn what I know to a deeper level.
Absolutely.
So, and I think the camaraderie, I'm sure, that was something to remember, in our first encounter. Hey, let's train. And we go for 3 hours.
And Mr. Thompson, Mr. T, and Wonder Boy, and the whole family. when you know them and you're a good person, you are immediately family.
Yeah.
Just been awesome being a part of the family and being a part of the Machado Thompson family. So blessed to still know y'all. And again, if I'd have met y'all in a bar, I don't know if we'd still be friends. So I'm just glad that I met y'all in something healthy. And really that's the new path that I've been trying to work on for myself and for my community is how do we make healthy choices every single day? Because we don't think about it, but we're taking years off the back end of our life by making some of these decisions. And when you get to the end of that, you're going to do anything in the world to have one more day. Mm-hmm. But you just burn it out in a bar, you burn it out smoking or doing whatever you're doing and just not taking care of yourself. Mm-hmm. So how do we refocus our community on making very healthy choices physically, financially, emotionally, and for me, most importantly, spiritually, to where we can live for him?
I understand. So definitely I can tell that martial arts has been a big influence in your life and a very impactful thing. But I remember when I met you, you're talking about fighting. I know you had some fights and everything else. How did that all play out, your fighting career? And for how long you did it?
I had 7 pro fights. So I was 4-3 professional. I had a couple at 145. Most of them were at 155. And I trained, and I'll be honest with you, my last loss, I just didn't listen to your father-in-law. And he'll tell you this. I mean, I just didn't listen. And I got in my head, and I think that set me back. And also at that point in my career fighting, I was about to pick up field grade officer. So I was about to be getting closer to being a major, and the time dedicated to that and the time you have to put in to fight professional, I was still putting in 5 hours a day and being a Marine officer. But I can tell you right now, and he'll tell you the same thing, if I'd have just listened to Mr. T, it would have had a different outcome. But I really loved it, and I loved just getting in the octagon. I remember, though, I never got jitters in the back. I would cut up and be funny. I never got them until I started walking out. And then I always thought, why don't I play golf? Like, what am I doing? And then I was fine once I got in the cage. But, there's that period where you're walking out there. You're like, man. But I miss it.
It's interesting you're mentioning that. I heard an interview with George St. Pierre, a recent one, in which he claimed the same thing. He was saying, man, why in the world I'm here? He was about to get into the cage. Chris Weidman said the same thing. Wonder Boy. I think all of us, I guess, when you're on the cusp of getting to the cage, you have that gut feeling or the butterfly feeling, like your self-preservation. Man, I'm going to get into something that there's a degree of risk and danger, and it has at the same time the excitement. And I understand once the gate shuts behind you and you look at the referee and the opponent on the other side, you get into the fight mode and things eventually they fizzle out. But you have that moment though that you comes to you, and I think every sport has that degree of emotional challenge that you have to, all right, man, I'm going to do this. But then at the same time you think I could be just playing pool or doing something else.
There's that commitment, though, and I'm just glad I never turned back around.
Yeah. Well,
I'm glad I kept going forward.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine what Royce Gracie probably felt prior to the very first fight that he ever had in the UFC, when the UFC first started in 1993.
And no weight limits.
Yeah, that was like, whew, that must have been something. I'll ask him that at a point in time, But going back now, so you have your career in the military. You went to school. You got 2 master degrees at Admirable. You're very well versed and articulate and knowledgeable. And then you got your MMA career. Eventually, I guess you came to a point where you had to make a choice. It's either going to be one thing or another. I cannot do both, which is a tough situation for some people, because a lot of guys, they are in that situation. A lot of guys, they don't have the luxury of time. If they don't make that choice at a point in time, they're going to be in disadvantage. Either you go all the way with one or another. How hard it was for you, though, when you went through that dilemma?
I think it was easier for me because I was supported by the military. So I could still fight and I could still train. And, we were very blessed in the Marine Corps to have gyms and MMA gyms and wrestling gyms and everything else. And so I was able to continue that and I could still fight, but I did miss being back in the cage. But at that point, I had deployed a good bit. And so really towards the end of my fighting career, really that's when I started AHERO too. So I was going through a lot of stuff, combat trauma. I had 3 combat deployments. I was blown up in my second one and received a Purple Heart and didn't realize the effects of that. But I mean, those 3 combat deployments, I had one in 2003, one in 2007, all the way to 8. It was 13 months long. And then I had another one in 2009. And you don't realize what they do to you until life calms back down. And so we were just going out and coming back and going out and coming back. And that was the new normal. So this would be awkward. Hanging out in a quiet room, having a cup of tea would be awkward. So
yeah,
that's when it really hit me.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize how bad it hit me because I was still fighting. And so once in 2009, I got hurt and I stopped training for about a month. And for about 2 years, I wasn't able to sleep. And for 2 years, I didn't know why. And I mean, you get blown up by a bomb and you get a traumatic brain injury, it definitely affects your sleep patterns. And in 2009, on August, on a Thursday night, I went to shoot myself. And when I went to pull that trigger at my farm in Alabama, where AHERO was created, my mother called my cell phone as I'm pulling that trigger. So as I'm taking my life and I'm by myself in this cabin, my mom, who calls me every 2 or 3 weeks, was used as a vessel by God to call me and stop me. And I saw it and I picked up the phone crying, and she knew by me crying and upset that her baby boy was about to do something bad. So she came out and spent some time with me and took me to her house. I started going to therapy and I tried to figure out, why am I a sissy? Why am I going through these problems? My Marines aren't going through any of this stuff. Why am I weak? And if you have to do some of the stuff in combat and you see traumatic things like this, if you're not having issues, you're probably a sociopath. So the fact that I was having issues meant I was a normal person having to go through abnormal stuff. And so I realized at that point, start the nonprofit. I had some friends, Jody Thrasher and Joe Watley and a couple other friends helped me start it. And we started bringing in other people to be the phone call for them and start serving them. But that's when I really, when that slowed down and when the jiu-jitsu stopped for a month, it all came crashing pretty quick.
Yeah, 2 points that you mentioned here. First of all, I want to let you know that it's a true account of late Grandmaster Carlos Gracie Sr., one of the patriarchs of the Gracie family, who was, amongst the first to learn jiu-jitsu from the Japanese in his late teens, early 20s. I'm not exactly sure when. He had a beloved girlfriend that got tuberculosis and ended up dying, and she was quarantined. He would visit her in whatever area that she was at, and eventually he learned of her passing, and he decided he wanted to kill himself. So he locked himself in the room, and he had poison. He had a full bottle of arsenic he was about to drink. And lo and behold, at that fateful moment, his mom then knocked at the door, calling him by his name. Carlos, are you there? Carlos. And the thought of his mom calling him, of his mom being present right there next to him, separated just by the closed door, and the amount of suffering that she would incur if he went ahead with his original plan was enough for him to, give up. He decided to give up of that, pursuit, but he was very close. If she was not knocking at that door, I don't think I would be here, because he wouldn't be, alive, and all the descendants of the family that learned from him and his brother Helio, they all would definitely have a different path.
And he ended up being a healer in his older age too.
Yeah. He turned out to be a healer and a dietitian and so on. It's interesting, and the other thing too is like I think for veterans, I can see the value of martial arts and jujitsu in particular because it relaxes you. It kind of gets your mind off. You can't think about problems when you're rolling, otherwise you get choked out or you lose track of what's going on. So
You're
it's
not going to be texting on the phone.
yeah, it's a
during
very
cycling or jujitsu.
yeah, it's a very absorbing martial
Yeah.
arts. You have to be fully in the moment, in the present, in order to be effective doing it. And I think too the degree of camaraderie, like you said, all guys at a gym, their teammates most likely are comrades in their perspective, with that military mindset. So besides yourself, I hear many accounts of veterans that thrive doing jujitsu, and I think it's a great thing. But so you mentioned, I'm not sure when you're ready to touch on AHERO. We can dig in, unless you want to add a few more things that I feel
Yeah.
you want to share and some stories beforehand.
Yeah, AHERO is definitely been a guiding light through a lot of stuff because I'm better if I help people, and I feel better and I get healed helping others. And so anytime I'm pouring into somebody else, I feel better.
Okay.
But you got to be cautious too that you don't drain your own tank.
I mentioned that to there was an episode with Jenna Quinn, and in her portrayal of her healing, she was a victim of sexual abuse at an early age, and in her healing process and eventually overcoming the problem, one of the things that led her to heal was the purpose of helping others, not to be victims, or if they are, how to overcome that stage or state of mind. So, but it doesn't change the fact that in order to help people, it's almost like you're a hero. You're draining them out, their problems out of their body into yours, and you have to digest whatever they're suffering or experiences. And I feel it's something that sometimes people don't take in consideration. You're being selfless in trying to help somebody else. It gives you purpose. It takes your attention out of your own personal misery. But at the same time, you can't avoid the effects of somebody else's suffering that you're witnessing and experiencing, as you're going through the healing, So I don't know.
I mentioned it to you earlier that a lady once told me, you can have all the trauma that you're trying to get away from in the back of a figurative tote in a back closet and hide, and it's going to open its ugly head when you don't want it to. Or you can put it where you have coffee, and you can put it in a golden book, and you can remind yourself every day about what you've overcome and what truly defined you to this current date, because you've survived all that stuff and you've got another opportunity to make an impact. But don't try to hide from it. Put it in front of you and remind yourself of how resilient you are and what you've overcome.
Yep. So, AHERO, what it is, how did you come with this idea? How did it all started and what it has become?
Well, so we bought a farm after the invasion in Iraq in 2003.
This episode is sponsored by Stay Humble Coffee. Coffee is so good, it doesn't need to brag. Find it at stayhumblecoffee.com.
So we had that property from 2003 until 2010. And because of me and the way I was using it and being selfish, and I wasn't allowing other people to come use his creation, that's all God gave me. As soon as I opened it up, and as soon as Joe Watley and all my neighbors, we opened the property up to let people come in.
Yeah.
As soon as we opened it up, I was able to buy the farm next to me.
What was the dimension of the first one?
The first one was about 104 acres. And then I had just enough. My neighbor came over on his tractor and said, Lee, I'm tired of living here. I want you to buy my property from me. I don't want to sell it to anybody else. I'm not going to put it on the market. And I had just enough to buy that one. And
which was how much more? How much more?
Another 224 acres.
Okay.
So as we kept sharing, and as I finally realized that these are not my blessings, these are my blessings that God gave me. I don't own this. I'm the steward of the property. These are blessings that I've been given. Share them and I was blessed.
Mm-hmm.
And
So, how did recreation and outdoors became a healing tool for veterans? Was that something, a personal journey that eventually you realized it was causing you good and
It
you
helped
wanted to
me.
pass on to others?
It helped me, and being outdoors and deer hunting, and not harvesting an animal specifically, but just being out in nature and being out in the fresh air and not being inside your house, and then being with other people and sharing stories. I saw how therapeutic it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that everybody doesn't deer hunt. So we started fishing programs, and then we have a lot of different programs as long as it's legal and ethical. So we do everything from cycling to golf programs. We have a record label, AHERO Records, out of Shelbyville, so out of Tennessee. Mike Carrata, retired Marine Fulberg Colonel, is the director for that. And he's got Harmony Hill, which is an awesome studio. I've seen some really nice studios. He's got the most fantastic studio and just another therapeutic place. And he brings in veterans and first responders, and they write music in this beautiful place out in the country in this great studio. And so as we found more therapies, I wanted to figure out more and try to have the menu of maybe you don't like music, but you like golf. Maybe you like cycling. Maybe you like this. And we added those programs to what we're doing. And the network we built of people like we were just talking about, General Livingston. And we named our lodge after General Livingston, who has every single medal you can get in the military except for the Navy Cross. And Bobby Parker, who was at my house yesterday from Vietnam, 5 Purple Hearts from Vietnam. And he was at the house this week. And 84-year-old, this blind and deaf, not safe, but helps us cut grass. So you got to watch him. But just that network, it's a God thing. And he keeps blessing us as we continue to bless others. And it's just been phenomenal to watch it grow. And talking to two specific people that I really thought highly of, these people don't know each other. And as I'm going through, like, how do I schedule my day? How do I get better? How do I get healthier? I asked these two people separate. One lives in Texas, one lives in Alabama. What's your morning routine? And they said, Lee, our cell phones stay in our office. They both got up at 5 o'clock. Don't know each other, have identical routines. They both get up at 5. They have devotion with themselves from 5 to 5:30. Then they do devotion with their spouse from 5:30 to 6. And then they work out with their spouse from 6 to 7. And they spend time drinking coffee at the end of that. And their first 2 hours, he said, Lee, I whisper with God before I enable, and he picks up his cell phone, before I enable the world to yell at me. I start my day every day with my spouse, and we get ourselves correct spiritually, and we put our spiritual armor on before we open the door for the world to scream at you.
Wow.
And so now we've started adding that stuff in and making sure that we're creating healthy habits. And at the end of a 2 or 3 day or 4 day event, I ask them, how much better did you sleep? Because you weren't drinking over the weekend. How much more clarity do you have going back on Sunday? How much healthier do you feel after eating healthier food? And we took you out of your maybe bad diet, drinking alcohol, not working out, because every morning we take the participants out, and if it's the beach, we walk on the beach. The first 30 minutes, I don't let them walk with anybody. And I tell them, I want you to walk down the beach and talk to God, listen to the ocean, and think about it. Where did you think you were going to be at this point in your life? Where are you currently? Where do you want to go? Because maybe you're not where you want to be, but you're listening to the ocean, which means you can change that direction now. He's giving you another opportunity and another sunrise. So don't waste it. But that first 30 minutes, there's 15 minutes out and 15 minutes back of just solitude and getting right with the Creator and making sure you're grounding yourself in the sand at the same time, because there's principles to that sand that heals you too.
Yep.
But all these trips, we've just started adding to really, really heal them instead of just taking somebody hunting.
Yep.
There's a lot of organizations, God bless them, that just take people hunting and fishing. But if I'm going to do that, I want to get paid for it. I'm going to be a hunting outfitter. If I truly want to help people and heal people, I'm pulling alcohol away from the event, and I'm spending a 4-day period How do I help them physically, financially, emotionally, and most importantly, spiritually?
How do you go about that though? Let's say a hero has a routine. It sounds to me from the outside, it's like a retreat for veterans outdoors to have an experience in which they will have some wins, some realizations, feel better about themselves. What's the criteria? What are the rules? Who is eligible for it? How long does it last?
Veterans and first responders. And right now, our AHERO events are 4 days. So you're coming on a Thursday and you leave on a Sunday. Unless we've done some overseas trips to Denmark and they're a little longer. But it's about 4 days and you get in on Thursday. And when you get there, you're either going deep sea fishing or hunting. And I tell them, hey, you were just coming here to deep sea fish. We want to change your life. And if you're not using these 4 days to get better, somebody else could be in your spot. So let's really think about it. These are your team leads. We're going to break you into teams of 3 or 4. You'll have a team leader. And that team lead will walk you through the experience. You fill out a participation form. What are some things that are bothering you? Physical fitness, financial support, marital issues, anger management. And then as you go through the weekend, maybe they change. Maybe you have a light bulb hit and you're like, I didn't even know that this was happening to me. And then we're there. So every day we'll talk through all that stuff. And then on Sunday when we leave, we take them to church. And it's a veteran first responder nonprofit run by Christian. So, it's not a Christian nonprofit, but I'm not ashamed of my faith. And I'm leading it right now. And my team, we're Christians. And so I don't want to steer away anybody from a different faith because I just want you to have spiritual background and something healthy. I would encourage you to love Jesus and only Jesus because I know that he's the savior, but I don't want to deter anybody. And we've had Wiccans and warlocks come. I had a witch come. He had no idea that he was going to be going to church, and we had kind of little mini sermons go throughout, and he was concerned and he didn't want to come. He's like, I don't want to go to church because of my faith. And at the end of it, he ended up going and he ended up loving it. And he said, if I would have known about church, I would have probably never come to this event. I know I wouldn't have. And then he went to church. I'm pretty sure he went back after that.
Wow.
So,
any stories you can tell from the early beginnings of something memorable? I'm sure you saw miracles in the making.
Well, I'll tell you a story. I'm not going to use some of the names. I've got lots of stories. And we brought thousands in and saved hundreds from suicide. But I'll tell one. I'll call him the sheriff. So he's a sheriff and he was a Marine. I've known the guy forever. And he called me one night at 11 o'clock at night, or he texted me, and I'm usually in bed by then. That was a God thing too, because I'm usually asleep by 9:30. And I see this text. I love you and your brother. Y'all are the funniest people I've ever met. I hope I see you in heaven. I hope I don't go to hell for this. I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving. And I said, please don't hurt yourself or anybody else. Please don't hurt yourself. I won't hurt anybody else. The gun is not loaded. I have not loaded the pistol. I'm going to aim it at the front door. I'm going to call them. And when they come in there, I'll let them do their job. And he wouldn't answer me after that. I called every agency that was in that area in the South. And I called everybody I could get a hold of. And I kept leaving them a message. My friend's going to call you. This is the address. Please do not kill him. Please proceed with caution, but please do not kill my friend. And when you go in the house, go in the side. He's got the gun pointed at the front. It's not loaded, but going with caution. Please don't hurt my friend. He's just really hurting and he wants to die. So I had to go out in the living room and I set the phone on my chest as I was waiting on the call back. It was like 3 a.m. by this point. And I get the call and the sheriff was huffing and puffing. And I was like, oh, he killed him. And I knew at that point that he had taken his life. And I'm thinking, what's going to happen to this guy now that he finds out the gun's not even loaded? And he said, he's okay. We got it from him. The pistol wasn't loaded like you said, but then he went back and reached in the couch for his backup, and we fought that away from him. He's really upset with you, and he's mad that you told on him because he really wanted to die. And we're taking him to the hospital. and he'll be in there for 7 days. So and he said, I told him to call you. So 7 days go by. I get a phone call, and he calls me, and he's crying, upset. And I said, come stay with me at the lodge. Come stay with me at the General Livingston Lodge. Let's figure stuff out. Just come up here. So he gets there, obviously embarrassed. And what got you to that point? And I just asked him, what things led you to the point where you were going to take your life? He mentioned 3 things, which I'm not going to go into, but 3 things. And I picked up the phone and I called various agencies and various people. And in 45 minutes, all 3 of them were getting solved better than he planned. In less than an hour, the decisions that he was going to make to leave kids without a father, upset family members, and me, I'd been upset. I've known the guy since I was 17 years old. And then got upset again, and he realized, I said, man, I've been there. I get it. But I promise you're going through the same thing I went through. I didn't want to bother anybody. I didn't want to waste their time. I didn't want to interrupt their life. I didn't want to be a burden to anybody else. I want you to call me at 3 a.m. I want you to tell me you're going through stuff. I want you to bother me because my return on investment is I get to see you get better and I get to see you still alive living your life. Mm-hmm. There's no return on investment once you kill yourself.
Yeah.
You've inconvenienced the 200 or 300 people that are coming to your funeral. You've devastated your entire family. So my return on investment is seeing you get better. So please come to me so I can help you heal through this. And it's a struggle if you allow it to be, and if you don't realize, like we were talking about the resiliency piece, you are so resilient if you just realize it. Yeah. I made it to 45, and I've gone through a lot of stuff. I've probably lived 80 years, but it's because of the resiliency and my faith that have gotten me through it.
Yeah. How do you get involved with the community locally and the volunteers for the AHERO?
Well, they go to the website, so AHEROUSA.org. And then go to the website and volunteer and send us messages. And we're growing, as many properties as we can because we're trying to cut logistics and involve more communities. If you're having one event all the time in the same community, you're going to wear the community out too. What I want to do is create satellite programs to where people can just go have coffee. You don't have to put on some lavish event where you're deep sea fishing. Just put on Facebook, hey, veterans and first responders out there, I'm meeting at Starbucks. If anybody wants to have Cup of Joe for AHERO is what we call it. Yep. Just have coffee with us.
Yeah, and that brings me to a question too. As you went into AHERO, how long it took before you got into the legacy business, which has to do with resiliency?
It does.
And if you can explain a little bit the background and the purpose of it.
Well, I think to back up to those 4 pillars, we started doing that about 4 or 5 years ago. And the reason is I saw the 2 common themes for veterans and first responder was addiction and a lack of purpose. So they had some type of addiction, usually alcohol, or they had a lack of purpose. And I went from being Major Lee Stuckey to just Lee Stuckey. And I have to remember I was always Lee Stuckey. I started as Lee Stuckey. And so you don't lose that purpose. You find new purpose and you take the foundation you've built to be your foundation. And so I started creating a couple businesses. I have one that's a land management company, and we plant trees and improve wildlife habitat. And it's so healing to take somebody out there and do it with them. And I'm paying them really well. And so then I started seeing that I could hire veterans and first responders, and we could spend time together saying acronyms, joking on each other if we're in different branches of service. And I saw the therapy behind you're going to work with a common goal, and it's to keep each other with a purpose and to take care of the team.
Does that complement AHERO legacy?
AHERO, I'll find participants that need jobs through AHERO, and I'll hire them from there. Mm-hmm. So the staff that works with us, they're AHERO people. And then legacy is the new thing that we just started in the last month. And that's going to be open to civilians and non-military, non-first responders. And so after seeing the mental health crisis in this country is just getting worse and worse. And knowing the recipe that we've gotten to refine over 16 years at AHERO. I want to open it up to businesses and everyday people that didn't serve. You know, and just because you didn't serve, it's not bad. You have your purpose in your community and being a part of your tribe here, but you're still struggling, and everybody struggles. And so how can I take people in everyday society, to include corporate, CEOs, COOs, everybody, and we've got a 3-day executive course, which is the Legacy Leadership Retreat. And then we have a 6-day resiliency course. And so that way, if the CEOs can't get away for a full 6 days, they can come to a 3-day course. And we teach those same principles about how do you be resilient? How do you take care of your tribe? We got a lot of people at the top of the pyramid that don't take care of their people.
Yeah. So what are the key leadership lessons that you emphasize when speaking to civilian and corporate audiences?
Your people are the only reason you're successful. Treat them like they are the foundation, because they're literally the only reason you have that number one job.
Yep.
Those top executives.
Yep.
And we've got it backwards. I had a company of 300 Marines, and I told the Marines, I know I work for y'all. There's 300 of you, and I'm solely here every single day to take care of you, and I love you. And we forget that word love is so powerful, and we get funny about it. I love the people I work with, and they know I love them. And so if I love my employees, and I can take a company that's a $100 million company or even a $1 million company, and I can pour into them, and they know I love them, and they know I'm going to do everything in the world to take care of them, how much are they going to pour into your business? But what if they know you don't?
Yep. How much of your experience in the Marine Corps influenced the resiliency on the retreats and the training that you conduct today?
A lot of it, and just the overall structure and the timelines. And I have, we call them company gunnies. I have a company gunny. Yeah, she's my company gunny. And I found her 4 or 5 years ago. I was just retiring in 2021 when I met her. And then on Facebook, I saw some off post and she wasn't doing good. And I knew we had a fishing trip coming up. And so I called her and said, "Hey, you all right?" She goes, "Not really, sir." I was like, "All right, well, I got a fishing trip in 4 days. Come here." And so we flew her in. She came in for the fishing trip in Orange Beach, Alabama. We went fishing. We spent time. She got to hang out with other Marines. She had just retired as well. Fast forward, she now is at our lodge today. She moved from North Carolina to Alabama. She lives in Alabama. She works for all the companies we have. At this last Warrior hookup, she went from being a participant who was going to kill herself. And she said I could use her name. She was going to take her life 4 years ago at one of our events. Fast forward to she ran that event this year. And then she went from being an atheist to getting baptized at the church.
Wow. And
she baptized her 14-year-old son with her. And you talking about crying. She walked up, and the preacher's a good friend of mine from Montgomery, Alabama, Sean York. He said, "Lee, I want you to be a part of this and baptize these people. These are your people." And so I saw somebody who was lost and had deep depression, anxiety, everything. And she had a son that needed her. And now she is such a strong and powerful woman. And she literally does everything for our farm. She's definitely our best friend.
Wow.
And
what a story, huh?
Unreal. Just watching that family and watching the son too. Devin is just such an awesome young man. Mm-hmm. And he loves God, and just seeing his relationship grow and to seeing the change that happened in her.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit. I want to kind of pause for a second here. Leadership. Okay. So you were in the Marines, you had the discipline, you went through deployment 3 different occasions. You had very traumatic experiences there. At one point in time, you contemplated suicide. And here you are, your mom calls you. You have a loved one that came at the right time, at the right moment, and kind of got you out of the mindset. But you knew you had to do something for yourself. You bought that plot of land. You want to just bow hunt with your brother. And then you realize, man, this feels good. I want to keep doing this. But you know what? Let me just bring a few more people here, just kind of share this experience and make sure that impact them as well. And then, the little group, it's kind of like a Forrest Gump moment. You saw the guy running on the road and you had just a handful of people chasing the guy. And then all of a sudden, he was crossing the country and a whole army of people were coming behind him. So it kind of feels a bit when you have an idea that you don't have yet the perspective how far you can go with that because you're kind of thinking small, just yourself. Then you open up to a few others and then you realize, man, this thing is working for me and it's working for these people here. And then you have your call at 3 a.m. in the morning and through your initiative, you know, you literally saved somebody from killing themselves. And you see that being multiplied and replicated.
Over and over and over
right?
again.
But I think you gotta be a leader. And how do you become a leader? What kind of is that something that you came ready to do it when you started AHERO from your experience in the military? Or is something that you flourished with the type of experience you got? And what are the lessons that you pass to people? How do you deal with it? How do you make it happen?
I've learned the most about leadership through bad leaders. Through bad leaders and through somebody making me feel so insignificant that I didn't want to be there. And I remember this one colonel I worked for, I would pull up in the parking lot and I would park in the parking lot for like 15 minutes and try to figure out a way to not have to go in there to deal with this guy. He was that bad. He was so bad. I was a captain at the time. There was a major that was going to therapy because of this man and the way he treated us. And he was the top of our section and he had every ability to lead, but he instead chose the iron fist. I heard somebody recently say it. Well, that's leadership. That's what you learn in boot camp or in football. No, that's indoctrination. And that's to get you past being a civilian and now being a Marine. At boot camp, that drill instructor, that is not leadership. That's a person getting you over a hump and out of a mentality that's civilian mindset. But that's not how you carry it. And a lot of people think that is leadership. And so they bark at people and they use an iron fist. You're not inspiring. And through, that situation and also back when I was enlisted, I picked up sergeant and I had a couple friends that were corporals and I picked up rank pretty quick on some occasions and my head got about that big. And for this 1 week, I was barking like a pit bull. And my buddy, who was a corporal, but I was a corporal the week before with him, walked up and said, "Man, you suck." And I was like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, you're terrible. I don't want to get around you." It's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I let it get to my head. It took what took me 5 days to destroy. It took me about 6 months to build it back. It took me 6 months to get those Marines to want to be around me. And I had to earn it. I was cleaning the bathrooms. I was cleaning the toilets. I was being nice to them. I did realize I sucked. And I was ruling with an iron fist. And I wasn't delegating after showing them how to do it. Micromanaging at its finest is when you don't even teach somebody what you expect. And then you yell at them for not doing what they didn't show you to do. So training people, loving them, and knowing that you would do it too. You're not just delegating it because you don't want to do the job. You're delegating it because they need to learn, but you've shown them how to properly do it.
So you lead by example.
Lead by example. Lead by example and just lead with your heart. Lead with your heart. I can tell you that guy, he went on to, the Marine Corps moved him out. He got a command at somewhere else and he was fired within 3 months and had a pretty, he did not exit the Marine Corps in good fashion. And, he finally got what he's deserved. But if you know you're that way, why? You're not inspiring people and you're just creating a hostile work environment and toxic. It's just absolutely cancerous.
Mm-hmm.
And people are just in survival mode. Like, I'm just going to do enough at work to where they don't talk to me. Like, they just want to be in survival mode. But if you inspire them and they want to be around you and you motivate them and they're happy to be at work. Nobody really, I don't think, really wants to go to work. I love my job. But if you got people who don't really want to come to work, but you at least take care of them and you treat them with respect, they're going to work harder for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Robin, the same person I was talking about earlier, she told me today, I thought about why I loved and cared about you so much. And it's because you always love and care about me.
Mm.
You always go out of your way to make sure that I know that you appreciate me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So changing gears here, because I saw you had a hero, you had the legacy, the resiliency
Resiliency retreats.
in retreats,
Yep.
which has to do more with leadership training.
It's going to be leadership training and just how do you do, the whole legacy piece is how do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be the tyrant that ended up, getting out of the Marine Corps and people probably don't like him? Or do you want to be somebody that's revered and say, man, that was a good human and they took care of me? And if you want to change it, if you're still alive, you can change it.
Is it mostly to veterans or exclusively to veterans?
No, this is civilians too.
Oh,
So we're going to do it at different, we've got looking at doing it at Honey Break is a place in Louisiana right now that we're going to do the pilot program starting soon. And so we'll house it there and we'll build the program and it's going to be for civilians. I mean, you can be military as well, but we want to give the same opportunity that I've seen be really successful after 16 years of building it at AHERO.
So you have mixed groups as it is right now?
Mixed. So you there's a 3-day course that's for executives if they don't have time to go to the full 6-day course. And then there's a 6-day course we're building right now too.
Okay.
And you'll come in on a Sunday and then you'll leave that Saturday.
All right.
And we put you in groups and it's just a week to disconnect from screen time.
Yep.
To reconnect with what matters.
So no screen. No,
like very limited cell phone use. It's all one-on-one. It's in nature. It's a 26,000 acre property. It's a beautiful place. And
in Alabama, you said?
It's in Louisiana.
Louisiana. Okay.
Disconnect from screen time to reconnect with what matters.
Okay. So what's the deal now with the Romanian American mission? Because you are literally with your hands everywhere. What does that mean? How does that work?
So Romanian American Mission is my uncle started it a long time ago, 50 or 60 years ago, and started Romanian American Mission and its ministry in Romania. And so he wrote a book called Come and See, and it was about Romania and his love for the Romanian people. And my cousin actually took it over. I went to serve. I actually had a deployment to Romania when Russia was coming into Ukraine in 2014-15 timeframe.
So you're deployed there recently?
That was there. No, it was 14 and 15. 2014, 15 when they hit Crimea.
15. Okay, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
when they hit that time frame.
Oh, the first time. Yeah.
Yeah, the first time. So I went over to Romania for that mission with an infantry unit. And when I was over there, I Facebooked Romanian American Mission and said, hey, I'm here. My uncle started it. Can I volunteer? And my cousin responds, hey, ding dong. I know who you are. You're my cousin. Absolutely. And so we go out and we started supporting these orphans. And so we started building an orphanage over there. And I would take the Marines out there and we would do construction jobs and everything else. On their weekend, instead of going out and drinking, they would go out and work on an orphanage with me.
Wow. Yeah, that reminds me, Roger, when you were in Haiti, you had some missions, right? In that regard, rebuilding stuff.
I was in Nicaragua, and I was in Peru doing New Horizons humanitarian missions.
Yeah.
We built all blocks and stuff. So digging wells, repairing things at orphanages, doing
that's awesome.
medical ready sites, and Spanish is my first language. So I was a translator on the missions for most of the stuff there. Yeah.
That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah. So the Romanian mission is still going on?
It's still going on. Yeah. My cousin runs it and it's flourishing. Robert Jackson. So my uncle's name was Bobby. Robert Jackson, and his mom's really heavily involved too.
So your entire family pretty much is in the military?
They're all in ministry.
Oh, in ministry?
Yeah, they're in ministry.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all in ministry.
I got you. All right, so we have jiu-jitsu competitors nowadays, like Megaton. He has a service dog that he takes to the competition. And the dog stays on the corner of the mat while he goes compete. It's for his psychological wellness.
It's so healing.
It calms him down. So I've seen a jiu-jitsu guy do that.
Yeah.
Now I've seen also different organizations that work with service dogs for veterans.
The therapeutic healing I've seen from getting my 2 dogs, Napoleon Dynamite, and my other dog is Lily Bean. I mean, I'm away from them now with my wife in Louisiana and our dogs are there. And it doesn't matter how bad your day can be. when you get home, your dogs love you the same.
Yep.
What do they say? Put your spouse and put your dog in the trunk and leave them for a minute and see which one's happy to see you when you open the trunk.
I know which one's going to always be happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not the case with the other. It might be depending on the circumstance. All right.
Yeah.
What about Operation Phoenix? How does that align with your larger
That was with the
purpose?
Wildland Fire piece.
Say again?
So that's with Wildland Firefighting.
Okay.
So the new companies we have now are Hometown Heroes Cleaning, which is a pressure washing business. And then we have Habitat Heroes Outdoors. And Habitat Heroes Outdoors is the land management company. So we do feral pig depredation. We'll go out and manage your feral pigs because they're a bad nuisance, especially in the South. We'll do tree planting, permanent food plots. So instead of spending a lot of money disking up your fields every year, we put in a permanent food plot. So a bunch of trees that'll produce acorns and fruit for about a 10-month drop window. And I work with a guy named Alan Dees, who's just awesome. And he's been doing the tree business for 30 years. And I'll take a veteran team out there and we'll go out and plant a habitat management. And it's so cool to take them back the next year and the next year because we see the orchards that we put into the ground. And so it's really cool to see how it changes. And we'll take the same workers out there and we're a part of these landowners' entire plan to make their place more beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the ones that we've really got going right now. And just really excited to watch how the AHERO community has grown. And the boat owners, I'll tell you a quick story about a boat owner that Matt McDonald's on our board. And he's with the A Game Drinks. I don't know if you've heard of A Game, but he's with them and helping them with their product. And Jim Painter, those two guys just pour into us like the other boat owners, Mr. Art Favre. We had a guy we found out was dying of brain cancer. And Mikey Miller had 2 Purple Hearts. And we found out he was dying and he wasn't going to be around too much longer. So I invited him to the fishing trip. We put him on the biggest boat, which was a 72-foot Viking that we had at the time. That was Matt McDonald's, called the Breathe Easy. And I told Matt and everybody the story. And so we also write music for AHERO with AHERO Records. And we pick a veteran or first responder to write a song about. And that whole weekend, the writers come in, one from Nashville, one from Panama City, Jeff Sylvie, Kevin Adair from Tuskegee, and a couple of the other writers that come in. Rusty Tabor, who's he wrote Back to Memphis that Billy Ray Cyrus cut. But they all came in, and we put that family in a beach house, and they wrote a song called My Legacy.
Wow.
And the song, the dad was there, the mom and the 3 kids wrote their song together. And their legacy is the dash in the middle. It's not the years you're born. It's not the years you leave. His legacy was his dash in the middle and loving his family. And while they were on the boat, they were all deep sea fishing. We had a videographer film the entire thing. And he said, Lee, I didn't even barely have to edit this thing. It literally came out in sequence to where there's a dolphin coming out of the water at the perfect timing to the music. And we have, right before he passed away, I went to see him and I was telling the guys, hospice is there. He's dying. I want to show him the video. I want him to hear the song. And they're like, I'm working on it. I showed up to his house. And when I showed up to his house, I showed him the video and his cancer had gotten so bad he could barely talk. And I was sitting on the couch next to him, and my wife was sitting next to his wife on the other side of the couch. And he looked at me and said, so tired. I'm ready to see Jesus. I'm ready to go to heaven. And he mumbled those words, and he passed after that. And I was honored to do his eulogy. And when I gave his eulogy, I said, how many people are that confident? Because we could leave here right now and get hit by a car, and you don't know if you're ready. But his last words were that, I'm ready to go home and see Jesus.
Wow.
And it's just watching. Of course, I was crying. My wife was crying. And, when you go through this, and my wife is half German, half South African, born in Jerusalem. So definitely tested my top secret clearance. And when I met her, in a braggadocious way. I don't want to get like this, but I'll admit I was being a little braggadocious because I'm proud of AHERO. I'm proud of it. And I was telling her about what we did and how many thousands of people we'd helped and how many hundreds of suicides that we had stopped through the organization and the wonderful volunteers. And she just turned her head a little bit and said, if it's not their eternal life, it's for nothing. I was like, oof. So that meeting her 5 years ago has definitely changed me. And my walk is 100 times better. And it showed me what really matters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that legacy piece. It's making sure that you're making healthy decisions throughout the day. Because again, if you're not taking care of yourself physically, financially, emotionally, and most importantly, spiritually, if you're a chair and 2 of these legs are broken, you're falling over.
Yeah.
And we get caught up in it. And then we let a third one go out, and then you're just in chaos. And then you go drink, and then it makes it worse. I had a bad run with alcohol, and I sobered up, and I remembered within the first probably month, maybe it was 2 months after that, I had 10 big things happen, and it was all in like 1 week, and I had 1 week to finish it. I had 1 week to finish these 10 things that were huge. And one of them was pretty significant for the nonprofit. I stopped for about 2 hours. I stared at the wall. So I'm like, how am I going to get through these 10 executive big decisions?
Mm.
And after 2 hours of staring and not being productive, I took a sheet of paper. And I wrote out, number 1, this is the top priority. Number 2, this is my next one. And I put them in order. And then every day I woke up and put my big boy pants on. I drank coffee and I started knocking out the problems and I started working on them. And it took me 5 days to handle 10 problems that would have defeated pretty much anybody.
Mm.
If I had been drinking, I could have not had the clarity to get through those 10 problems. I remember one of my friends, Ken Odom, showed up at the house and I said, I finished them. He's like, finish what? I was like, I'll tell you, but I finished all that. Like I realized I just finished all 10 of those things.
Wow.
Just having the clarity. And it's so important that you have the clarity with all of the decisions so you can make the right decision. And sometimes we're going to mess up, but if you're not sober minded, and in the Bible it talks about past the point of clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Past the point of clarity is not where you want to get. And so I'm not, saying you're going to go to hell if you drink a beer. But if you're spending your time in the bar and not doing good, healthy things with your community, how are you pouring into that community?
Yep. 100%. Man, it seems like you're doing a lot of things and you're very structured, organized. You definitely have a strong support system. How much of a impact? You were a military person before you became a martial artist, correct?
Around the same time.
Around the same time?
Same
Okay,
19.
so tell me about those 2 factors forming the person you became.
I mean, it's the foundation.
It's the foundation.
It's the foundation because it's discipline.
Yeah.
And really, before I started taking martial arts, you just think you can fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go in there, I was about 200 pounds, and I was reasonably strong for 200 pounds. And I went into my first jiu-jitsu class, and a guy named Dustin was in there, and he was about 120 pounds. And if you're watching this, I'm sorry, but a Star Trek guy, I'm like, hey, what's your name? You want to grapple? And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I thought that this was going to go the other way, but this guy submitted me, and he was so nice about it, but he submitted me so many times. And then I realized I have no idea how to fight. At that point, I'd been doing street fights and getting in trouble. And that's why, one of the reasons I went to military school. But if you know how to fight, you don't fight because you have discipline and you only use it for self-defense and to protect your family and your friends.
Yep.
If you can't fight, people get in little street fights all the time. But once I really saw how calm he was, and he just took me through every move he got me in like 6 submissions in probably a minute. I was like, okay, this is very frustrating, but I'm going to learn this. And I finally realized after years and years of taking jiu-jitsu that you need that discipline, but it carries over to every aspect of your life.
How are you as a partner I know you have to be a good training partner to your teammates in the martial arts, but with your comrades, when in the military, were you always a social guy, a guy easy to deal with? I know you had your tenure in a position of command that you became kind of a bit cocky and you started to kind of bark orders and rough some feathers. But how are you in the beginning? Are you an easygoing guy? Are you there on the same boat as everybody else?
I would like to think I am. I'm easygoing, and if I do, and my wife says this too, so this has been validated. I will apologize in a heartbeat,
Hmm.
and I will accept responsibility. And if I come across brash or rude or whatever,
Hmm.
I genuinely feel bad about it. And
Hmm.
I don't ever, going back to those colonels and those people who made me feel
Hmm.
lesser than a human. And I had a couple majors call me an MFer in front of my Marines and like cuss me out in front of my Marines. And we talk about praise in public, reprimand in private.
Right.
And these people were the opposite. And I remembered how they made me feel. And I walked in their office and said, "Hey, you're not calling me that ever again." But still, I didn't want to do that to other people. And I knew that once you throw that stone, one of the majors specifically, he came back to me like a year later and he was super nice after that. But I still remembered him calling me that. And regardless of what he did to try to earn it back, there's still a percentage you just can't get back. And once you call somebody a demeaning name or cuss at them or scream at them, I think it's impossible to get your 100% of respect back.
Mm.
So just don't do it. Before you throw
Yeah.
a stone, I'll tell you this, if you're going to say something, is it going to destroy that relationship?
Mm.
And if it is, should you say it?
Yeah.
I typed out an email to this colonel one day, and I was working for another colonel. And as I'm talking to him, I read it to him. And I typed out the whole email, and we had some work we had to work on, and it didn't get done. And I still needed this thing to get done. And he said, "Read the email again." And I read it out loud. He goes, "This is a great email. Read it again." I read it, and he goes, "Delete it." It's like, "What?" He goes, "Go over and talk to him. Go to his office and talk to him and find out what's going on in his life
Mm.
because you don't know what's going on in his life. And you're thinking that what you have is so much more important. Maybe he has something with his family.
Yeah.
Maybe he has something with work that's right. His boss is in his office." When I went in, he goes, "Leroy, what's going on, brother? Hey, I'm just firing an email. I finished that stuff we'd had to work on. I'm sorry it took me till now. I had another project I had to do, but I'm sending you the email right now."
He said that.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I was about to ruin that relationship and he was
Yeah.
working on it.
Yeah.
We just got to realize that
Communication.
communication and don't get upset about something because you don't know what's going on up here
Right.
with people. And you're sitting there talking to them and
Yeah. My experience is it relates a lot. I think it's a human
yeah,
experience in which if you have a relationship with somebody and it's not going in the direction that you feel you should go, instead of trying to voice your frustration without consideration, get to that person and say, "Hey, what's going on?" Just say, "How are you doing?
Mhm.
How's your wife doing? How is your family doing? Are you doing good? Is everything okay?" And just that small initiative, it's kind of like an olive branch of some sort that you're anticipating conflict by creating a peaceful opportunity before it becomes a conflict. You know what I'm saying? We relate a lot to that. Me and Roger, we have our discussions outside, and a lot of times, what makes or breaks organizations or even squads or or troops is the morale. And I think everything starts with good communication and rapport. Uh,
And people that care.
yeah, yeah, and like you said, you lead by example. Um, I feel in this opportunity here, there's a lot that we can dig, and I'm tag teaming here with Roger. Roger, I'm opening the mics right now because you come also as a retired uh, from the armed forces and in the Air Force, so I'm sure you have a lot of common denominators with Lee
I,
Stuckey.
I'm interested in the AHERO stuff.
Mhm.
It's veteran support, and I hear the term leadership thrown around. I think that must maybe mix between the legacy and the AHERO because I don't think there's
Hmm.
much leadership needed there. There's more of education, right, and
Hmm.
exercise of the soul would probably be the easiest way to say it for layman's terms. So I'm just curious on that piece, because we could talk about leadership all day, but when it comes to suicide awareness, when it comes to someone who's depressed and someone just doesn't know how to get the wheels spinning in the right direction, I kind of want to hear a little bit about the actual, like, not educational piece, but like what lesson plan or what lessons you guys use, or what form of education you guys use. Is it strictly faith based? I'm curious on the inner workings of that, because I know there's some people that if it's faith based, they don't want to have anything to do with it.
Sure.
But if it's faith supported, and then there is a method to the madness and an actual process, that people would be more inclined to hear about it. And I think with this platform that you have now, if anyone out here is listening, if anyone out there is listening, I'd like them to hear from you how AHERO helps them physically or mentally start the wheels turning in the right direction to help them.
I want to add one more thing here. Is it the main premise to prevent suicides?
Suicide and give them purpose.
Okay.
Because if you stop it once, what happens in 3 or 4 years when it rears its ugly head again and you get back into depression? So what's the root cause of it?
So that's the main premise is
suicide prevention, and then give them a new purpose. So once we identify what the issue is, we've sent 50 people to treatment in the last 3 years, and we've had 2 that I know relapsed.
Right. So what's the stats on the results so far since AHERO started? How many people you can tell for sure? Man, I was able to.
He just said 50.
Yeah.
He
said
We said
50?
50 for treatment, but we've stopped hundreds from suicide.
Yeah.
Hundreds
that's
and
what I meant.
hundreds. And I mean, it's, every week we have our group or people in our community that are stopping them. And Robin will call me. A guy named Dylan Dupree will call me, and they'll say, "Hey, Lee, I've got somebody." And so it just grows, and that spiderweb effect. Because what we tell them is, you go on your trip now, and the donation dollars covered it. But now, I don't want you to just take from the trough. You need to pay it forward. And so if you want to come back to another trip, you have to help us find a couple people to help that need it, that don't want to go to a free fishing trip, but need this trip. Find a couple people, help us raise funds, because we work off all donation strictly, and be a part of this. But don't come here to just take. Pour into the trough. You've had your trough. Pour into the community.
Yep.
And what I've seen is very small percentage does that. It's sad, but very small percent actually comes and wants to do what I'm asking them to do. But the ones that do heal. And the ones that do have that purpose, because now they're pouring into a system.
So this is an approach in which them paying forward, they automatically get into the process of healing. But if they don't, the relapse is always a threat. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you're just not a part of the tribe. You're not.
Right.
You're not. If you quit getting around the people and the things and decisions that keep you healthy, and you go back to where you were, it's not if, it's when it's going to happen.
So how far has AHERO expanded since the very beginning?
I mean, we were in Shorter, Alabama, and now we have Hunts in Texas, the record label in Tennessee. We had an elk hunt in Oregon last year. We've been to Denmark. So we've spread out.
Oh, you go abroad as well? You go abroad?
We do. We haven't in the past couple of years, but really anywhere that somebody can go to find healing, and anyone that wants to open up their property to allow us to come there. And one of the things, to go back on one topic, I don't know what you're going through, and I don't know what kind of stuff's in your head. And so I'm to the point in the grocery stores for the past 20 years. I tell people, God bless you. I hope you're having a good day. Every person I walk past. And it got to where my wife was like, why do you do that? It's so uncomfortable, because she's an introvert. And I was like, because you don't know what they're going through. And what if my comment that was free to me stopped them from going home and getting in their car and pulling a trigger? And it didn't cost me anything. I'm just in a grocery store past them anyway. So just doing those small acts of kindness and making sure you're pouring back into your community, and you're not taking from your community.
Yep.
There are people that pour in, and there are people that consume. And I want to build a community of everybody. I want you to pour in.
Yep. So I see you have a system when they come and do the retreats. They have their downtime with you and the group. They go through the experience. They really get to share all the four pillars that you mentioned. I'm interested. How do you help them financially? Do you find them jobs that they can support
Get
themselves?
them educated. So this last trip we had, Jeff Parker come in and taught a course on financial management and taught for an hour and said, "Hey, I'm here. If y'all want to come talk to me after this, I'm here all weekend. I'm a team leader." And he is there, gives him his phone number and says, "I will help you with financial decisions." But also the job piece too, if they lack purpose.
Right. But you,
I don't want to give them money. And we don't give money. We
no,
don't like hand people cash to
no,
pay
I got you. But
bills.
you had the legacy, and then you had the all the other projects, the Phoenix,
Mhm.
and then your companies. Do you provide for the people that you have on your log, the database, that participate at the AHERO? Do they have a call from you on one occasion when there's a new business venture? Hey, you guys would like to come here and do some work, like
They don't, but that's a great
the
idea.
tree planting and
Yeah, it's a great idea.
all the other stuff. Oh, I guess maybe I'm just throwing some ideas there
No,
on
it's a
you,
good
man.
one. So what we do now, we started the team lead program last couple of years. We'll call the week after an event. They all meet together on Sunday and they make sure they check out and they meet every night. And then after a week, they'll call after week 1 and then they'll call after week 2 and then they call at month 1 and say, "Keep the line open to us, but I don't want to pester you. But if you need me, reach back out to me."
Mm,
And we're all on a WhatsApp group message for each event. It's on a WhatsApp group message.
okay.
And that WhatsApp group message stopped a suicide from one of our participants 2 years after the event.
Yeah,
Two,
that's one life saved.
2 years
right
after
here.
the event, this Army soldier, a staff sergeant, was in Kansas City, and this Marine Lance Corporal that was at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, saw the WhatsApp message that this guy was going to kill himself. Had no idea where he lived. He found out where he lived. He called the police. When they showed up to his house, he had eaten a whole bottle of Tylenol and a bunch of other pills, which is a painful way to die. It just eats up your entire insides. And that Lance Corporal from Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, stopped an Army staff sergeant from taking his life from a WhatsApp event 2 years before.
Wow, what a story. Yeah. What do you have for the future? What's going on from here on?
Building the legacy program and really building how can we help all the communities. And you watch the news, everybody's fighting each other, Democrats, Republicans. I just see it as good and evil. And everybody, regardless of your religious background, I think we can all agree that there is good and there is evil in this world. And if you start seeing this hate, which is just pure hate, we just got to quit it. And like we were talking about in the truck earlier, I can't do anything about stuff that's happening in rooms that I'm not invited to in Washington, D.C. But I can take that same energy instead of staring at my computer or TV and being mad at it, and I can stop and go help my community. And I can take an active role and position in my community and actually go in and talk to these people and make sure that we pour into that and we build a good program wherever you live. So just wasting a lot of time.
Yeah, I think that's the right mindset. You act locally,
Yeah,
and you will impact globally.
absolutely.
If everybody follows that precept.
And the spider web
Right,
effect.
yeah,
I mean, I've seen it happen.
yeah.
And it's not Lee Stuckey. It's AHERO and using a model to where I love them. They know I love them. And therefore they love the program. And they go out and spread it and help people. I've got a guy, one of my Marines, I was his commander back in 2013. And he's doing a golf tournament for us at Walmart in Memphis, Tennessee. He's put on a golf tournament. He works at Walmart Distribution Center. And he's putting on a tournament.
That's awesome.
So just these people are calling me, 12 years after I had them in command.
Wow.
And saying, "Sir, I want to be a part of this. I want to do what you're doing."
Yeah.
So just very blessed to have it. And it's kept me going. And we all have bad days.
Yeah, I understand.
But every day is a good day.
I got you. I want to throw something here, before we go any further. Tell me a bit about the Purple Heart.
About getting blown up.
Yeah, tell me
Yeah.
about
So on a
the
mission,
Purple Heart. The Purple Heart.
the Purple Heart.
Yeah, the Purple
Yeah.
Heart.
So on a mission in November 2007, and was in a MRAP, mine resistant ambush protected vehicle, and my tire initiated an IED, which was underneath me, and so it blew my truck up, knocked us out. I'm very fortunate. We had just shifted from the Humvee to the MRAP.
Yep.
We had literally just shifted. I was the last person in my platoon to get it. I fielded the rest of them to my unit, and then I took the last one. And if we would have been hit a week prior, the Humvee I'd have been incinerated. It would have been catastrophic.
For those that don't understand the difference structurally and from an engineering standpoint, Humvees just have a flat chassis, just like they're up armored from the top down, whereas the MRAP had a V-shaped belly, steel belly that would dissipate the blast.
Goes out.
It's still not bomb-proof, bulletproof, but it's much better in its resistance to explosives.
Mm. So you had a week earlier.
Yeah,
switch?
so we had just switched them. I just got a new vehicle, and I'm here because of that.
Wow. So and then once you had that experience, what was that ensued after that?
I didn't barely tell anybody I was having any issues because I wanted to get promoted.
Mm.
And so I was supposed to be on a 14-day suspension from going on missions. I knew the female medical doctor that was a lieutenant. And so I was able to get it reduced a little bit. And so I went back on missions, and I didn't tell anybody about the headaches. I didn't tell anybody about, the tinnitus and all the other stuff that was going on with a TBI. And really until I went to shoot myself in 2009. And from 2007 to 9, I didn't sleep. I was on Ambien. I was on all kind of sleep aids. Ambien makes you hallucinate. You're not supposed to be on Ambien longer than 6 months, is what I was told. And I was on it for years and taking Ambien. And
This is highly addictive.
very
right?
addictive. So
Yeah.
you're in a culture to where there's a lot of alcohol. And then you're in a traumatic job to where you're getting blown up and seeing war. And you're taking prescription medicine.
Mm.
It's not if, it's when. And so I was doing all three of those things. We would drink. I had medicine, and I had trauma. I mean, how is it not a recipe for failure?
Mhm.
And TBI is a traumatic brain injury for those that don't understand that.
Mhm.
And just going through that stuff and really getting to that point to where I didn't want to live anymore.
Yeah.
And I just didn't think about my mom or anything else. And you get so focused on your own stuff. And what I tell people now is just write it out. Write your list out. And my things were probably like 3 or 4 things.
Right.
But then to the side of it and write it on paper, write out the blessings you have.
Yep.
A roof over your head, a car, your hearing, your
Yep.
sight, your legs. That list will far surpass the negative one. But if you don't see it,
I can attest to you the value of writing things down has helped my marriage. At different points in my life, when me and my wife were in a very troublesome stage in our marriage. And one of the exercises that was recommended to us was to write on one side all the positive, on the other all the negative. And after we finished the exercise, what we realized, the positive side was so much greater than the negative. And amongst the negative, there were not as many that was as critical or relevant. Maybe 1 or 2 things that we had to really work through, me in particular. But that puts things in perspective, because a lot of times when you are in that state of mind, you focus on the negative, and everything positive you kind of push aside. You only focus on the dark, and which and we can kind of go into this rabbit hole. I'm not sure how far we can go into this conversation. I don't want to be controversial, but my perspective of the veterans, I feel we owe so much to them because they sacrifice everything for our country. And in many instances, the choice on their missions is not upon them. Sometimes there might be some disagreements on the merit of the missions or the policies behind it that the politicians dictate. But the troops themselves, they're caught in a dilemma because they are there to do their job. And once they are deployed, there's no question whether they're going to do their job or not, regardless of how the public opinion sees it. But then upon the completion, when they come back home, and this has been something recurring many different times in the history of this country, they are received almost as without any gratitude whatsoever, with a high level of criticism, with a great bias from the media. And I do think the government leaves them hanging for no other, the veteran services, the VA hospitals, how much support they have. I mean, if you look at the rate of veterans that are homeless right now, that they are addicted, like you said, susceptible, or even prescription drugs that they get trapped into, they, in some instances, it can lead to mental health issues that might lead to suicide as well. And I'm here thinking, man, this is a very relevant portion of our population that has been neglected for too long. That's how I look at it. And I don't know how you feel about it. I'm not trying here to create
No, and I think too, though,
the community,
we
what
need,
you're saying.
but we need to take more ownership too. The veterans need to take more ownership.
Yeah.
And I tell all veterans, my VA doctor is a rock star.
Yeah.
And I can call the guy on a Saturday night and he'll answer the phone. I don't recommend you doing that to your doctors, but
Right.
he's just a really good human. And so if you go in, and I'm not saying this is everybody, but if you go in with a bad attitude and you go in combative, then those doctors are going to be the same way. You're going to get treated like you treat. So I just think we've got to be cautious about doing that and making sure that if it is a bad program, then you let the right people know, and then go find another VA to go to. Because I have 3 in my area, so I'm fortunate to have 3. But go find a solution to the answer. Don't just beat your head against the wall. And it's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Go find a solution. Be solution driven.
I think it's even deeper than that, though, Lee, because you said something earlier that struck me. You said helping them find purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that very early on, let's just say boot camps, right? Whichever branch you're in,
Mm-hmm.
they do a really good job of indoctrinating you and stripping you of your identity and some people their soul, because they are now a airman, Marine, soldier, sailor, whatever the case may be. You're no longer who you used to be. You are now airman so-and-so, Marine so-and-so. So you're stripped of your identity. They do a really good job of, the term brainwashed has been thrown around a lot. And I think that's an okay, because you're washing it clean, right? We're washing our brains clean of what we thought we were and now who we need to be, right? And we do our time, whether it's 4 years, 6 years, 20 years, and then there's no reboot after that. Mm-hmm. Sure, you might have a little exit program that tells you about finances.
Yeah.
These are your options. But what are we doing to almost reprogram or unprogram? Mm-hmm. Because they do a heck of a job for 8 weeks, 16 weeks, however long your boot camp is. But then you're out, like after being 20 years or whatever the case may be, you're out in a few months with no exit boot camp, right?
Think about this. If it was 4 years and then every morning I told you what time to wake up, I paid all your utilities.
Yeah.
I literally told you which chow hall to go get your food from. And then 4 years later, you're at the gate.
So you've had 4 years, 20 years, whatever the case may be, of knowing nothing. You didn't have to think about anything. You knew the uniform you had to wear. You know what time you had to be. You know what job you had to complete. Mm-hmm. You know what mission and purpose you had. And then all that is taken from you or no longer held upon you. And now you don't know what to do. Now you're almost lost because you've never had to decide anything for yourself unless you're a commander. And those people are far few in between. They're like less than 1% of the service. So now from that standpoint, it's like, dang, there's a reason why we spent so much time indoctrinating, but so little time reprogramming to be back out. And
it's
successful.
Tough to navigate without a given path.
Yes, sir. My point exactly.
You got to have a compass, I guess.
That's
a
why
redirection.
That's why it struck me when you said helping them find purpose, because that's the only thing we had while we were in the uniform. Mm-hmm.
It's huge too.
Yes, sir.
And to find that purpose and make sure that it's healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with the discipline and the structure, those things, they will remain. But in terms of having direction and a purpose, you got to rediscover. Kind of almost like a reset button. And I think the community effort of the veterans themselves, you and your group, and several others, quite a few amazing, great people that they care about one another. And I think your initiative has already brought amazing results for the lives that you saved and continue to save. Because one of the things that people don't take in consideration with the statistics is not just the number of people that you can verify. I prevented this number of people that were on their way to take their lives and were able to put a break on it,
Mhm.
right? But there are a lot of unintended consequences with the work that you do that will cut short any of those impulses way before they become critical. That person might be inclined to act all the way to take their lives on their own. Does that make sense?
It
So,
does.
so, so I feel here for every one that you prevent from suicide, you probably have 10 or 20 or 50 more that because of the experience they shared and the rediscovery of their purpose, they're not going to even entertain that idea any longer, which would be dormant there or maybe possibly awakened if they didn't have access or the experience that you provided to a hero.
I had one of the Marines call me at 2:30 or 3 in the morning, and he was just hammered. And he was crying and talking about the Marine that he had lost and going through it. I said, just stop real quick and think about what would he do if he was still alive? And if he hadn't been killed in Afghanistan, he would do anything in the world to hug his wife. He would do anything in the world to have one sober moment to hug his daughter. He would do anything in the world to have one sober thought, but he didn't get to make that choice.
Mhm.
So live to remember him and live for him because he can't.
Mhm.
He doesn't have that option. And so you're mourning and it's causing you to drink and you're going down the path to taking your own life. And I've gone through this myself. And you're getting to that point instead of honoring their sacrifice and the service that they gave to our nation because they'll never be able to hug their families again.
Mhm.
So why are we going to lose two now?
Yeah. Well, I agree. Mr. Roger, man, I tell you what, man, I'm ready to go for some bow hunting in Louisiana. Huh?
Yeah, I'm excited. We got to get you back now. I will tell a funny Carlos story. I
Oh,
think
man. Go
Clay,
ahead. I'm a lover. I'm not a hunter. Well, go
no,
ahead.
so there's a couple. One, I think Clay Guida was there that weekend too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he
Did Clay?
was.
So Clay was there, and this is before we had the lodge and before we had
Wounded Warriors at that time,
we
right?
we had the red cabin. We just didn't have the other building. So now it's 4 facilities on the property. It's about
Mhm.
700 acres,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll sleep 41 now.
Okay.
At this point, poor Carlos did not get that service. You had a bunk bed, and then Clay had a bunk bed, and the wooden slate was right over his face. And so I could hear both of y'all wake up because y'all hit the wood when y'all get up to use the restroom. And so poor guys were sleeping in these bunk beds that were like coffins. And I felt so bad about it, but I mean, I had to put people
It's all good.
somewhere.
It's all good.
So then I take him hunting with one of my friends, and he gets back and says, Lee, I just watched Carlos do like 45 minutes to an hour of calisthenics. And I was like, what? He said he got cold. And so he started doing jumping jacks and started running in place. And he said for 45 minutes to an hour, he's doing a workout and he's working out on and I said, did you see any deer? He goes, Lee, I just told you the story. You didn't see any deer, did you?
I scare all the deers.
Doing jumping jacks.
Yeah,
No.
who was with me besides him? Was one of the Thompsons with me?
Yeah, Stephen
Steven?
and Vince St.
I,
Preux.
I did them the favor of just scaring all the
To
deers. I
them.
said, "You guys are not." Somebody killed a deer there that weekend, right?
So Wonder Boy, and this is a good story. You can tell Mr. T, he remembers this.
Uh-huh.
They were out at a different property, and I was hunting on the side with them.
Same weekend.
Same weekend.
Okay.
And I heard boom, 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 boom. Shot 7 times.
Oh Lord.
And Mr. T goes, that boy can't shoot for nothing. He missed. I think he's a better marksman now, but he missed a couple, 6 or 7 deer, and they were running through it. And he said, I just couldn't get a beat on them. I said, you should have just tried to head kick them. You could have beat him with a head kick. The next day, I found a deer, and he had shot one of them and killed it. I sent him a picture. I said, this one died of a heart attack. You definitely didn't hit him.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Good times though. And Event St.
Yeah.
Preux was there.
Yeah.
Tell
I
us
re-
where the people watching this can learn about AHERO and all the things that you're doing, Lee.
Yeah, you can go to aherousa.org, and then Lee Stuckey Legacy is the legacy stuff. So for speaking engagements, for corporate speaking engagement, keynote speaking, the resiliency and the leadership retreats, that's the legacy piece.
That's awesome. Well, we're gonna get you all your info laid out.
Yeah.
And
That'd be great. And I bought you hats too.
Okay, hold on a second here. Now let's see the goodies. Hold on. Ooh, look at that. Hold on, let me
Just
see.
as iron sharpens iron.
What about that one?
That's yours too?
Let me see which one. You
Okay.
give me one for me and one for Roger, right?
Both for Carlos. That's fine.
You get to pick.
No, I'll pick this one. Look at me. I want the hunter one.
And
Give
then
this to
is-
Roger.
Roger, you want a shirt?
Sure.
Roger,
Hometown
this
US
is
Queen,
yours.
the pressure washing business.
Thank you.
I'm gonna wear it right now. Well, my friends, I can't wait. Let me see here.
Well,
I have a big old head.
the reason I'm finishing a book right now called Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm focused on this is it's so important. And I don't think we take enough time to realize. I mean, my dad's 96 now, and I'm sure he'll live to be 100. But at this point now, he would do anything in the world to have another couple years. And we don't
Yep.
realize that at 45,
Mm-hmm.
how much some of my decisions are taken off the back end of my life.
Yep.
And so I have to stop and stay sober.
Yep.
And I have to stop and eat healthy. And I have to go to the gym instead of the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to make wise financial decisions so I'm financially sound.
Mm-hmm.
And if I do those things habitually every single day, I make it a point, because my life is important for my Creator to take care of his temple, then I won't have to worry about it on the back end, because I'm building a legacy and I'm living as healthy as I can because I planned to live healthy.
Yep.
But if you go out without a plan, you know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So just live healthy.
Legacy is not about you; it's about what you leave behind.
It's about
So-
that. Yeah.
So whatever you were given, you have to add more to it. So whoever's going to get what you give is going to receive more.
Absolutely.
And I think you're on the right track, my brother.
I appreciate it.
It has been a pleasure talking to you today. It's a long overdue, and I'm definitely going to visit you in Alabama or Louisiana.
Yeah,
whatever.
my wife was bummed she didn't get to meet her.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
going to have other times.
Yeah, she's
And,
awesome.
I can't thank you for your time, your kindness, and in your service, and the support you do to the veterans, and now to everybody, because the leadership programs, it's open to everyone. So
It is.
thank you for what you do, Mr. Lee. You're amazing.
You know, I'll leave it at this. I had my 45th birthday, and I looked over at my wife, who I didn't meet until I was 40. And I said, I would have been dead for 16 years.
Yep.
16 years I would have been dead by my own hand because of something so insignificant now.
Hmm.
16 years of lots of mistakes, 16 years of lots of fun and laughter, 16 years of experiences, and a family that had no idea why.
A lot of blessings.
Absolutely.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you,
You want to
sir.
say a prayer?
Yeah,
Pray.
be my.
Dear Heavenly Father, just thank you and just bless all these people and just watch over what Carlos and Roger and everybody are doing, and just bless everything and everybody that gets to listen to this. And as we go through every day, let us live for him, but give us the ears to listen and the words to speak to glorify you with everything that we do, and not let this life be about us or our decisions, but about your path and about making deliberate decisions to walk in your way. Thank you so much for your grace and mercy and for your son. In Christ, let me pray. Amen.
Amen.